Hello and welcome to another episode of the Agency Leadership Podcast. I'm Chip Griffin.
And I'm Gini Dietrich.
And Ginny, I used some AI, and so we're going to conclude this podcast in just about a minute because we'll get to all the key points that quickly because of the technology.
The instant output, are we getting?
An instant output, instant results, and we can move on with our day.
Okay, but before we get to that, happy belated birthday.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. I didn't get to wish you a happy birthday last week because the coffee shop and the satellite office and the Wi-Fi, blah, blah, blah. So happy belated.
Thank you. It is nice to have you back in your home office so that
it is very nice to be back.
We don't have to figure out all the technical issues every week and figure out, can we record, can we not record?
Yes.
But I think we only had 2 weeks where we couldn't make it work. So
yeah,
that's not too bad given the challenges of recording in a coffee shop environment.
Yeah, summer school is over. Yay.
Well, there you go. All right. We are going to talk about AI, and we are going to talk about AI making us faster, but perhaps the bigger problem is clients and prospects thinking that it will make us even faster than fast. And so it does tend to lead to unrealistic expectations about how much you can do, how fast you can do it, and of course, what that means for pricing. And so these are all challenges that agencies are facing, and we're all excited about the technology around us and how we can leverage it. But how do we manage those expectations effectively with clients, and how do we integrate it effectively with what we're doing so that it adds to the results and doesn't just give us a giant headache?
Part of the reason I like this topic for today is at 6 o'clock this morning, I saw a client in a shared Google Doc making some changes. And then at 7:30, he emailed and said, "Have you updated it yet?" And I was like,
"Yep."
Nope.
Nope.
It's not even 8 a.m. yet on a Monday.
Thanks for playing.
Let's settle down.
Yep.
So that's part of the reason I like this topic, is because I think that that's exactly what's happening is everyone's like, oh, well, you can do it faster, so I expect it in minutes instead of hours or even days, which may be the case in some things, but not the case in all.
Yeah, and look, I mean, agencies are used to unrealistic client expectations.
Fair.
It's something that agencies have been dealing with for decades, certainly as long as I've been in the business. And it is always something that you have to be mindful of. But I think, to your point, AI is making it so that people think that all of these things can be done even faster than they really can, or that AI alone can solve problems and create content or edit content, and there is no need for any human touch. And so that means, in their minds, that this can be truly instantaneous. But the reality is that AI still requires a level of management, a level of review.
Yes.
And it is a tool to help us get there, but it's not going to take over and do its thing on its own. So, a client can't expect that you get things just as fast as you might from ChatGPT when you ask a question.
Yeah, it's not that, I mean, everybody knows this. That's not the case at all. Christopher Barger, who's on my team, has a really good article coming out in a couple of weeks about how he used AI for his fantasy baseball draft. And part of the reason he did that, which he explains in the article, is that he wasn't using AI at all. And I was trying to encourage him to use it and said, why don't you see what it would tell you for your baseball draft, just to get an idea of how to use it and what kinds of things. And one of the things he says in the article that he learned is that the output is only as good as what you give it. It's only as good as what you're training it with. So because it's a little bit delayed, he was getting information from it from players that played 2 years ago instead of more current players. And so I think we tend to forget those things, that the AI has to be trained. It has to be trained over time. It still has a delay. It still hallucinates. So no, you can't just input a prompt and expect that you're going to get an output and then send it over to the client. That's just not how it works. And it's unrealistic for them to think that.
Yes, but as we know, clients aren't necessarily always grounded in reality when it comes to expectations. And so honestly, it's our job as agency leaders to help educate them. Sure. And to help them to understand what the technology can and cannot do, what is or is not unreasonable to expect of us and our teams. And so I think now more than ever, the advice that we always give, that that as soon as you spot unrealistic expectations, you need to call them out and adjust them. I think that becomes even more important now.
Absolutely.
Because otherwise you will really put yourself in a difficult position if they assume that it's quick and easy and cheap to do all of these things that they want you to do.
Yeah, I remember, gosh, just a year ago, maybe even shorter than that, where agency owners were freaking out because they were afraid they were going to lose retainer budgets or have them shrink in size because clients are saying, well, you're now using AI. Well, it shouldn't cost this much. I think that concern has eased a little bit because clients understand that maybe they're getting more for their retainer dollars, which is great. I think we all like to be able to do that for our clients. But I do think there is this idea that now we've gone from, oh, well, you can use AI for your job, so you shouldn't charge me as much, to, oh, you can use AI for your job and deliver all of these extra things today in the next 30 seconds or 30 minutes versus a week from now. And you're right. You should be setting the expectation that it still takes time. We have other clients, even though we don't like to let our clients know we have other clients. We do have other clients. There are fires that pop up. Clients have crises. Clients have issues. Like, there are things you still have to deal with or without AI. So setting those expectations and realistic expectations is the right thing to do.
Yeah, and I mean, certainly clients don't like to hear that there are other
Right.
clients. But I think that makes it even more important for us to be clear from the get-go that, yeah, we do have other clients. And that's a good thing.
Yeah.
And part of the problem comes because agencies try to deceive people in the prospect process. Not necessarily out of any malicious intent, but we often try to, particularly as small agencies, we try to make clients think that we are bigger than we are. We always try to make people feel like, they are the only client that matters, which in that moment, in that phone call, ought to be true. You shouldn't be thinking about or responding to emails to other clients while you're dealing with another or a prospect. But you can't make them think that they are your only priority forever in the future, because that's just unrealistic.
Right.
And so we need to work to educate clients about these things and not try to allow them to believe that we are bigger, that they are, the number one client always and forever, that, we can turn things around, lickety split. We always want to make sure that we understand what it really takes to get the job done and share that in a transparent way with the prospect, because otherwise it becomes a real battle to try to walk that back 6 months down the line when they're like, well, I don't understand. Why is it taking you so long? Taking me so long? I did it within like 6 hours. I mean,
I stayed up till 9:30 last night working on this for you. What do you mean? Yeah.
Right. And but a lot of that comes because we didn't correct the expectations soon enough. And as we've talked about before, oftentimes very early in the relationship, we will respond lickety split and at 7:30 at night and all of that kind of stuff because we want to make a good impression. And the AI may, in fact, allow us to do that at times in a more, in a faster, shorter labor time frame. But if we do that constantly, we're going to be constantly chasing ourselves and working crazy hours.
Yeah.
And it will destroy our morale. It will destroy team morale. And it will only continue to feed itself to the point where at some point, even if you are doing all those things, you're still not going to meet the expectations that the client has.
Yeah, I think this goes to any sort of unrealistic expectation that the client has. And to your point earlier, most clients do have unrealistic expectations. It's setting your boundaries and setting the expectations and setting the realistic expectations up front. Because when you do that, it's a lot less painful 6 months from now. It's a lot less painful for a year from now because you're not having to have those conversations. And everybody's excited with new clients. Everybody wants to put their best foot forward, of course, but set those boundaries up front to say, this is what you can expect realistically. Sometimes you might over deliver in the case of getting things done sooner or things like that, but those should be like delight and surprise kinds of experiences, not an all the time kind of thing.
Right. Now, at the same time, I think we need to be careful that the pendulum doesn't swing too far in the opposite direction as it sometimes does. And we have to understand that AI and other related technology absolutely will allow us to turn some things around faster and with less work. And so we shouldn't pretend that it doesn't simply to protect ourselves or to protect our profit margins. We need to, we don't need to run to the client and say, oh, by the way, we can now edit these pieces in, a quarter of the time because, the AI gets us there faster or whatever. But, we can't just sit there and sit on it for a couple of extra days just to make the client think that it's taking longer than it is.
No, please don't do that. Jeez.
Right. So, we need to, if we are able to become more efficient and more productive with these things, we should figure out how to leverage that increased efficiency and productivity. We shouldn't just try to hide it and harvest it for our own benefit.
That's a really great point.
Because if we want them to believe us when we say it's not really going to speed it up as much as you think, then we have to be honest when it does, because otherwise we're not credible, right? Because everybody knows that there are places and there are things that AI and related technology will help us do better, more efficient, cheaper, whatever. Take advantage of that. Be honest about it.
Yeah,
Fight the battles worth fighting.
Please don't do that.
but I see it a lot, and I've seen that advice given too, right? We need to protect our revenue, and so if it's going to take half the time, we need to keep charging the same amount. Well, if it's going to take you half the time to do it, I would be looking for how I can leverage that to do something else and produce even better results.
Yes.
For the client. I wouldn't just be saying, no, I know it only takes half the time for me to do this work, but I'm going to keep charging you the same.
Yeah,
because that may work for you in the short term, but it does not work in the long term.
No, it does not. I know I've said this before, but we've always, since I was a young whippersnapper, I had a boss who called it the popcorn list. So it was the list of things that you wish you could get to that aren't strategically, like, they don't matter from a strategic standpoint, but they're things that could be done. Maybe it's like re-optimizing the website, or changing content on certain pages, or developing a new piece of lead magnet, or something, like things that you would like to get to but maybe haven't been able to. Have that list so that now that you are more efficient because of AI, you can go to those things, because that's the surprise and delight thing I mentioned earlier, the things that you can do for the client that you weren't able to before because of time resources or budget resource or constraints. Now you can do it because you have some of that time and budget available. Absolutely. They will be so happy with you doing those kinds of things.
Absolutely. And so why not surprise and delight them?
Yeah.
But there also is a piece of education here, right? Because a lot of times clients expect, because they've seen particular examples, either maybe someone on their team showed them something that AI was able to do, or they've seen someone post about it on LinkedIn or something like that. We need to help educate them about what the limits of AI are for the specific things that we're doing for them. And I think one of the challenges that a lot of clients have is they will see something that's just amazing that AI has done and helped produce. At the same time, my experience is a lot of the generative AI is fairly inconsistent in the quality of the output, whether that's written or visual or audio or whatever. And so part of it is to help them to understand, sure, we can have, for your website, we can have all of the images generated by AI. Some of them may be great. Some of them may not.
Right.
And there may be a lot less consistency across them than if we had a human designer doing it. Now, I expect that will continue to improve over time, but we need to help our clients understand what some of the trade-offs are if we are going to rely more on these things to turn things around more quickly. And so there may be a lack of consistency in writing style and things like that. There may be a lack of consistency in the visual imagery. Sometimes it may not even be usable, and so it might actually take longer. Yeah. I've certainly seen a number of examples in working with clients where they used AI for, I don't mean to keep beating on imagery, but imagery seems to be one of the places where it is the most inconsistent.
Yes. Yeah.
And sometimes you'll look at something and be like, this is fantastic. I'm so excited about this. And then you'll work on something similar and you'll go through 7 or 8 iterations and it's just all rubbish.
Yeah.
And you're like, I can't use any of this. And then maybe you finally get something that's decent, but it doesn't look anything like the other one. So now you don't have brand consistency across the different elements that you're using. So you really need to help your clients to understand where are their limits, where can it help, and why it is that you're telling them it's not going to shave off as much time as they might think.
I'm laughing as you're talking about this because we had a client maybe 3 or 4 months ago who decided that the positioning, key messages, vision, and mission work that we did along with their web development firm for their new website was not adequate because it hadn't been run through AI. It actually had, but okay. Um, and so he redid it and he sent it over, and the team lead for that client called me, and it was probably like 7 or 8 o'clock on a weeknight. And he was so angry. And he's like, I'm going to send this to you. I need you to look at it. And so I looked at it, and the AI didn't even spell the company name wrong. He didn't like check anything. It talked about a mission for some other company that wasn't their mission. And the two of us were like, what? And so I called the CEO and I was like, dude, really? And he goes, oh, I'm embarrassed. I didn't even look at it. I was
Yeah.
like, come on, like, jeez.
Yeah.
So yes. And in images, to your point, especially if there's text, that text is never correct, ever,
Yep.
ever. So please, like, you're right. It could actually take more time in the long run.
Yeah, and I mean, and there are these services out there that say, oh, we'll build a PowerPoint deck with the AI. You just kind of tell it what you need. And I've tried some of them, and some of them occasionally come up with something that's pretty good, decent. And some of them are just awful, and they look like
Yeah.
a 2-year-old put them together.
Right. Yes.
And so it's, to me, one of the biggest challenges is that lack of consistency. Or the flip side is sometimes excessive consistency.
Right.
Particularly when it comes to text and lack of, even though you may tell the AI to think critically, it often doesn't. And so it will end up just saying, oh, you're so brilliant. You're so smart. You're right on. I'm so glad you suggested this. And I'm like, well, but where's the contrary point of view? And I've seen some people with, some prompts that they claim helps the AI to be a little bit more constructively critical. And maybe, but it does seem to generally love its operator in most cases.
Yes, it does.
And so you have to be careful about what that can mean, particularly if you're using it to edit things or those kinds of things, because it might not steer you down the right path. And so, again, you need to help your clients understand, absolutely, we can use AI to short circuit some of these things, but just know that sometimes it's going to help and sometimes it's not. So sometimes we may need a little extra time. So we're going to build that cushion into our schedules so that if the AI doesn't come through
Yes.
in the way that we would like it to, we still have room to
Yes.
clean up after it as necessary with humans.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that setting realistic expectations, setting your boundaries, and being very clear about what that all means is the right approach. And that doesn't change, right? It doesn't change if we have AI. It doesn't change if we have whatever's next is to come. We always need to set realistic expectations and then hold to it. Like, if you say we don't answer emails after 5 p.m., don't answer emails after 5 p.m.
Right. Yeah, and I think that is, to me, the point I would underscore is nothing has really changed
Right.
with AI. Everything has changed with AI, and yet nothing has changed.
Right.
We still need to focus on education and expectations with our clients, no matter what tools or technology we're using. And if we do that, we will be in a better position. And obviously, that will be an ongoing process. It's not like we just do that when we sell the contract. We have to continuously educate and
Right.
measure expectations
Yes.
and adjust expectations
Yes.
as circumstances warrant.
Yes, indeed.
So with that, clearly the AI didn't help us enough. We didn't finish everything here in 1 minute.
Shoot. Oh, well.
But hopefully you enjoyed the journey in listening to us, and we shared a few points that you might actually appreciate. Might even help your business. You just never
Maybe.
know.
Hopefully.
And if not, feel free to stick this into AI and see what it comes up with.
Now I'm kind of tempted.
Yeah, there you go. So on that note, I'm Chip Griffin,
I'm Ginny Dietrich.
and it depends.